The mouse of the day is Lumberjack Lincoln, but there's actually a giveaway today, guys. I'm going to be giving away 10 mouse of the day trading card booster packs. 5 of these are going to people to just comment on my video, so I'll be watching very closely in the comments and choosing some winners soon. I'm going to post the results of the giveaway, by the way, so no funny business. And these other 5, I'll tell you the secret way to get these at the end of the video. Don't forget to squeak like and cheese subscribe, guys. Now let's get into today's video. Lumberjack Lincoln had a tiny little flannel shirt, a tiny plastic axe, and his confidence was way too big for his pint-sized paws. He called himself Lumberjack Lincoln, and every morning he'd march out of his cozy little corner in his burrow, ready to chop down mighty trees, or at least that's what he called them. They were just paper towel tubes that his mom had set up for him so he could pretend he was a real lumberjack. "All right, boys," Lincoln would announce, speaking to an imaginary crew of lumberjack mice he'd conjured up in his mind. "We've got to go to work. The trees don't chop themselves, do they?" Lincoln's older sister Leela watched from the doorway, hiding a smile behind her paws as she saw him lift his little plastic axe. It was just a toy he found in a cereal box one day, but he claimed it as his own. To Lincoln, it was a powerful tool, one that could slice through the mightiest trees in the burrow. With exaggerated grunts and tiny swings, he brought his toy axe down on a nearby pillow he declared as his log. Each swing was filled with effort, and each thump of the toy on the pillow made Lincoln feel one step closer to becoming the greatest lumberjack in all of Mouseland. "Almost got it," he huffed, wiping a paw across his brow dramatically. "This one's a tough one, guys." His mother, watching from the kitchen, shook her head with a tiny little smile. "Lincoln, honey, why don't you take a break and have a snack?" "Can't, Mom. Sorry," he called back, his face set in determination. "I gotta finish chopping up this log." His plastic axe made a soft thud every time it hit the pillow, and the only thing falling were little tufts of dust off of the pillows, no trees. He didn't know any of this, of course. To him, he was a hard worker and a great lumberjack. Finally, after a good 5 minutes of intense chopping, Lincoln threw his axe down and wiped his brow with a sense of pride. "Whew, all right, team," he announced to his imaginary crew. "This one's ready to hit the mill." "Great job, Lincoln," called his sister Leela, clapping her paws together. Lincoln puffed up with pride, looking at her with a grin. "Thanks, Leela. Maybe you can help me out. It's pretty heavy." Lincoln chuckled and went along with the game, pretending to help him drag the log across the floor. To Lincoln, they were working together as a great team, 2 mighty lumberjacks hauling their prize out of the forest. They pulled it across the burrow, with Lincoln giving Leela instructions on how to load it into the truck, which in reality was just a shoebox he had decorated with crayons. He drew on wheels and he made it look like a real truck. Once the log was safely secured in the truck, Lincoln climbed onto the top of it, puffing his chest out proudly. "See, Leela, someday I'm gonna be the best lumberjack in the whole world." Leela stifled a laugh. "Oh, I don't doubt it, Lincoln. You're already well on your way." He grabbed his blocks and started stacking them high to create his trees, and scattered stuffed animals around to serve as the wildlife he'd encounter. With his tiny pickaxe in his paw, he took a deep breath and said, "Time to get back to chopping. All right, boys, here we go. We've got a lot of wood to clear today," he declared, swinging his axe. Lincoln had been practicing his lumberjack talk after watching a cartoon about loggers, and he liked to throw in these phrases every once in a while that he heard, even if he didn't fully understand them. His dad, passing by the doorway, watched Lincoln with a mixture of amusement and pride. "Looks like you're working hard, Lincoln." Lincoln looked up, grinning. "Sure am, Dad. We're clearing a whole forest today. This is some tough work." His dad chuckled. "Well, don't work too hard, Lincoln. Make sure you save some energy for dinner." But Lincoln wasn't about to slow down. He had logs to chop, stumps to pull, and a whole imaginary crew counting on him. Lincoln's imaginary forest was coming together very nicely, with all the logs he'd chopped neatly stacked in his shoebox truck. He stood proudly next to his collection of wood, hands on his hips, imagining a vast lumber yard he'd create all by himself one day. "All right, boys," he announced to his imaginary crew. "That's enough chopping for now. Let's take these logs to the mill." She took one look at the makeshift setup, the blocks, the stuffed animals, the shoebox, and burst out laughing. "You've got quite the operation here, Lincoln," she teased. "Looks like you're a real pro." Lincoln beamed, completely oblivious to the playful tone in her voice. "Thanks, Leela. I think I'll need a few more trucks soon. These logs are really stacking up. We're getting a lot here." He and Leela pretended to load the logs into the truck, with Lincoln making engine noises as he dragged the shoebox across the floor. He bounced it up and down as he drove, veering left and right as he navigated around the imaginary obstacles. "Look out, Leela, there's a big rock in the road," he shouted, pulling the truck around in a wide circle. Leela played along, jumping to the side and pretending to shield her eyes from the imaginary dust his truck was kicking up. "Thanks," Lincoln said. "It takes a lot to be a skilled lumberjack and a driver, you know." After unloading all the logs at the mill, Lincoln decided it was time for some more serious planning. He grabbed a crayon and a piece of paper and started drawing a map of the forest. The trees were green blobs and the logging roads were thick black lines that looped and twisted all over the page. He added symbols to show where his crew would need to chop next. "Leela, this is our new logging map," he explained, showing her the crayon drawing. "See, here's where we start and then here's where we finish. We're going to clear out all this area in here." He pointed to a big lopsided circle on the map. "Looks like we've got lots of work to do," Leela said, nodding with exaggerated seriousness. "Are you sure you're up for it?" Lincoln puffed out his chest. "Of course I am. Real lumberjacks don't quit. We'll keep chopping till the job's done." Just then, his dad peeked his head in the room, holding a slice of apple in his paw. "Hey, Lumberjack Lincoln, I think it's snack time. You'll need to fuel up if you're going to go back to chopping." Lincoln took the apple slice, nodding in agreement. Thanks, Dad. Lumberjacks have to keep a lot of energy. He chomped on the apple, chewing thoughtfully as he looked over his setup. But then as he finished his snack, an idea struck him. Something that would make his lumberjack game even better. Dad, can you help me with something? He asked, his eyes bright with excitement. His dad grinned. Sure thing, bud. What do you need? Lincoln motioned for him to come closer, lowering his voice as if sharing a big secret. I need a real logging station. Maybe you could build a little cabin over there? His dad chuckled, nodding along. A cabin, huh? That sounds like a big project, but I think we can manage. Together, they gathered Lincoln's building blocks, arranging them into a small, low makeshift cabin. Lincoln watched with awe as the structure came together, imagining himself as the owner of a cozy little cabin in the middle of his own private forest. This is perfect, he squeaked, clapping his paws in delight. Now we have a place to rest after all this chopping. He ran into the cabin, settling inside and peering out over the little gaps between the blocks as if he were surveying the kingdom. In his mind, he could see the tall pine trees stretching in every direction, his imaginary crew chopping away as he supervised the whole operation in the comfort of his cabin. Leela wandered over, peeking into the cabin with a grin. Got room in there for one more lumberjack, Lincoln? Lincoln nodded, scooting over to make space for her. Of course, every good lumberjack needs a crew. They sat together in their tiny little cabin, looking out over the makeshift forest of blocks and stuffed animals. To Lincoln, it was all real, a sprawling woodland that he'd conquered tree by tree. He could practically hear the sound of axes swinging and trees falling, the scent of fresh pine filling the air. After a while, his dad called from the kitchen. All right, Lincoln, it's time to start getting ready for bed. Lincoln sighed, casting a long glance at the logging site. He didn't feel ready yet. He still had way more logs to chop down and trees to clear, but he knew that even the toughest lumberjacks did have to rest. Okay, Dad, he called back, reluctantly standing up. As he gathered his toys and began putting everything away, Leela helped him stack the blocks back in their box. You know, Lincoln, she said with a smile, you're the best lumberjack I know. Lincoln grinned, holding his plastic axe proudly. Thanks, Leela. Someday I'm gonna be the greatest lumberjack in the whole world. Leela patted him on the head. I have no doubt about that, little bro. Lincoln placed his plastic axe carefully on the shelf, knowing he'd be back at it the next day. As he climbed into bed, he imagined himself back in the forest, his axe in his paw, his imaginary crew by his side. In his head, the tree stretched far above him, and the sound of chopping filled the air. As he drifted off to sleep, Lincoln dreamed of a world where he was the king of the forest, his mighty axe swinging with the strength of 100 mice. In his dreams, he was Lumberjack Lincoln, the toughest, bravest lumberjack there ever was. And when the morning came, he got right back to chopping. Now, as promised, guys, I'm going to let you know how to get these remaining 5 Mouse of the Day trading card booster packs. So all you're going to do to get these free booster packs is make a video of you opening one of them up. So it could be a review. It could just be you showing off the pack and talking about it, giving some news on it, explaining some stuff about the packs, or you can just open it up and see what you get. Just post on TikTok, YouTube, or Instagram and use hashtag MOTD. I'm going to be looking at all these videos and giving away more Mouse of the Day trading card booster packs to someone that opens these up or does a review. So do you guys mess with Lumberjack Lincoln? Thanks for watching, bros. Squeeze!